Liz leaves the slums of Yalaram outside as she enters this seedy tavern. It's dark inside, lit only by burning wicks held in strange lamps of oil. Several customers are lounging on filthy cushions, smoking large pipes of who knows what, but it stinks. Liz walks over to the owner and gives him 5 gold coins. She says a word she has been told to memorise. The owner takes the money with no acknowledgement and points to a small opening behind him, covered with a beaded curtain. Liz goes through and finds herself in a storeroom. There's a trapdoor in the floor and a ladder leading down. She takes the ladder and finds herself in a cave with an inlet of water, jetty and a boat. She gets into the boat and paddles her way out of the cave and onto the large lake that surrounds Yalaram. She hugs the base of the city's walls. Overgrown bushes and reeds provide her cover. She stops at a point that has been described to her. This is a blind spot where you can cross the lake and not be seen by guards. She paid a lot for this information, by the way, and had to speak to many unsavoury characters. So she sets off for the far shore. She sees some stunted, gnarly trees on the opposite shore. This is where she was told to leave the boat. The tavern owner will collect it tomorrow. She pulls the boat onto dry land and sets off into the desert. It's bitterly cold, so she is glad to see the outlines of tents and animals in the distance. Even at this late hour, people are still working. This is a trade caravan. They are packing up, getting ready to leave at first light tomorrow. They will head eastward towards the sea. Liz plans to travel with them, though the caravaneers don't know that yet. It's not unusual for the caravan to pick up travellers and mercenaries who are willing to pay a small fee. Liz moves through the tents and yurts. The traders know her, and she recognises some of them. She goes to the tent she is most familiar with and enters. A man is lying in a simple bed of blankets, so different from the vulgar opulence of the emir's bed. And the man couldn't be more different than the emir. He is tall and lean. He has deep-set eyes framed with horn-shaped eyebrows. His nose is fine and straight. This is Yusan. He isn't asleep, so he immediately sits up as someone enters his tent. "Liz Carter," he says in his thick accent. "What are you doing here?" "I came to see you," says Liz. The man smiles. He throws back his bed covers. Liz takes that as an invitation to stay the night, so she does. And just as things get good, she wakes up. Rain is dripping on her face as she lies on her bedroll on this depressing hill. Why, she cries into herself, why? Hello everybody and welcome back. We have finished up in this Hobgoblin camp where we killed their leader. After trying to get some information from him, he didn't give up anything, which tells us that, well, he's clearly under the dominance of something far bigger than himself. Well, that's what we presume. We did loot this camp and found a total of 90 gold pieces, which is quite good for hobgoblins. That covers our expense in buying the boat and our stay at Guido's fort, stabling the pony and things like that, plus a little extra change. Now do remember we only have 150 gold pieces each. Now if we look here, there's a steep hill going up this way. This pond is fed by a waterfall going up an even steeper cliff. We could go further north, or we could go south along the path we came from as we were heading west. It's not actually apparent that there is a path beyond the waterfall because there is 600 feet of dense woodland. So we'll go back here and we'll continue to the west, and this brings us to another clearing. And I will say that this encounter here, since 1983, I have been dreading it. And it is this one. Right. If you look at all these little outdoor encounters, there's probably, 20 lines of text. This one has 1.5 to 3 columns given over to it. There are some combat stats here at the bottom, and they're not there for the sake of the players should they wish to engage in combat. These stats are there for the DM to crush the players should they decide foolishly to fight. This is not a combat encounter. Most of this text is given over to the personalities of these two women and details on how they interact and love to interact. So it seems to be that the author has thrown in this quite anomalous setup to let the DM indulge in some improvisation and role play as a point of difference from the rest of the adventure. Oh boy. And I don't know. I had to mark their names here so I could remember who is who. So let us pause for a minute till I set this up. Okay, we enter this small clearing and there's a cottage about 20 foot by 20 foot in size with a little thatched roof, little flower beds out front, watering cans and hanging baskets and maybe a pail of water. There might even be a little cat on a mat. However, as we approach thinking, what is this doing here? These two women come bustling out the front door and one says, "Oh, it's guests. Look who it is. Rosabella, we've got people here." And Rosabella says, "Och, and look at the state of me, with my hair all a mess. I must look like a fright." And she says, quite perceptively to Donard, "I bet you were ready to turn me." And she giggles. Rosalinda says, "Oh no, you'll stay for a cup of tea. Go on, you will. Go on." And Carrick says, "What's tea? Is that like B for beer?" Rosalinda says, "Oh, he's never had a cup of tea. Come on in. You will. Come on." And, well, these people seem too happy for Donard. Not only that, but it should be pretty obvious to all of us that these two characters here, two old women in the middle of this hill filled with hobgoblins, supposedly orcs, undead. How on earth have they survived? There's clearly something up. So I think Donard's immediate response is to say, "Nah, we're good." But Rosalinda isn't having any of it. "Oh, go on, go on, go on, go on. Come on in." And Rosabella says, "Och, what have you got to be frightened of? Two old women? Come on, I've made some cake. And who doesn't love a lovely bit of cake?" And, well, it looks like we're not going to go anywhere unless we please these old women. And Sylvia says, "It's only going to be half an hour. And tea and cake, what can go wrong?" So we walk into their little cottage. And much to our surprise, inside is a well-appointed mansion. The hallway is 40 foot square and has stairs going up to a second floor. It is immediately bigger on the inside than the outside. And not only that, but it has wings, an east wing going off somewhere and a west wing. And we're taking down the west wing of this huge mansion. And to these two sisters, nothing seems unusual. They don't even consider the fact that we might be surprised. And as well, dotted around this entire mansion, it's got, silver candlesticks, little trinket boxes, chandeliers, candelabras, mirrors, silverware, gold-plated things. And Liz, who has as a youth indulged in a bit of shoplifting, is extremely tempted by some of this, and she picks up a small jewelled box. And Donard, who's beside her, just glares at her and says, "Don't touch anything in this place." And that is good advice, because you're told what will happen if you do try to steal from them, and it isn't pleasant. So we walk down a long hall, wood-panelled, with a suit of armour and some oil paintings on the walls. And we're taken to a small side room that you would call a parlour, with a table set out, and it seems to be set out for guests to have, tea. And either the kettle is always on the boil, or some magic is at foot, because it doesn't take Rosalinda long to go into a side room, bustle around and make some noise, and come back with a big pot of tea. And Rosabella comes in with a big thing of cake. Carrick has never seen tea before. He doesn't know what to make of it, but when it's poured out, it kind of looks the same colour as a good dark beer. So, it has that going for it, and it doesn't smell overly unpleasant. Rosabella decides to cut everyone a slice of cake. "You'll have a bit of cake, and you," she points to Malin, "why don't you sit beside me?" And Rosalinda says to Rosabella,
"Oh, are you sure you really need that bit of cake? I mean, look at the size of that slice." And Rosabella says, "What do you mean?" And she says, "Well, it's not like the clothes are hanging off you, are they?" And Rosabella is shocked, and she says to Malin, "Don't listen to her. I have the appetite of a sparrow." "Yeah, a feckin' giant sparrow." And Rosalinda says, "Sure, when you reached for the knife, I thought your hand was a pound of pork sausages." Rosabella tuts, and she says to Malin, "You wouldn't think it, but when I was your age, I was quite the looker." And she puts her fingertips on Malin's forearm, and Malin doesn't know what to do. He has to say something. And I'm going to make a roll. His intelligence and wisdom, when totaled together, are 27. And I'm going to throw two 20-sided dice. And if he throws a 27 or under, he makes the diplomatic answer. And if he rolls more, well, maybe he puts his foot in it. Oh, and he rolls well under 27. So Malin says to Rosabella, "Oh, no, you can tell you were quite the looker when you were young." And she seems satisfied, and she says, "Well, it's my happy disposition that keeps me young." And she says to the table, "It's like that old saying, by the time you're 40, you get the face you deserve." And she looks at Liz. "You might want to think about that one, love. You know, try smiling a bit." Rosalinda says, "Oh, now, come on," to Carrick. "Will you not drink your tea?" And Carrick goes, I'm not, I'm waiting for it to get cool." And Rosalinda says, "Oh, go on, drink it. Go on, go on, go on." So Carrick has to drink a sip of tea, and he actually finds it's not that bad. And Rosalinda says, "Now what on earth are you doing here, in the middle of this hill?" Well, Donard doesn't want to give too much away, so he says, "We're just travelling." She says, "Oh, to travel? I would love to be able to travel." And Rosabella says, "Well then, why don't you just get on your broomstick and fly away, you old witch?" And Rosalinda says, "Oh, don't listen to her. She's got a terrible temper. Anyway, you can't just be travelling. There's nothing here to see. Now what are you doing?" I think it's time for us to spill the beans and say that, well, we've heard there's a hobgoblin raid going on. You seem to have survived here. Anything you can tell us? And they laugh and say, "Ha." She says, "Are you asking for something for nothing? You don't get that here, love. Cross my palm with silver, and I'll tell you all you need to know." Rosalinda says, "Oh, yeah, she will. Right. Okay. I'm going to stop it here for a minute while I think of all the questions we need to ask. Right, we're here to get some info from these old women, and they want money. We only have 5 bags of 150 gold each, so what's that, 750 gold? We think they don't want that much. What do they want? 5 gold, whatever. I'm going to tell you this is the second time I'm running this bit. I tried it before and it was a disaster, not because I had bad rolls. It's just I had absolutely no system for negotiation or barter. In real life, I don't even like bartering. I'd rather people were up front and told you what they want, either buying or selling. So I put together a little table for the second time around. I tried using the reaction roll table without really thinking it through, and I tried using a charisma roll without having any formal parameters for success or failure. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to use Sylvia. She has the highest charisma of 12, and in my table, if she fails badly by 6 or more, in other words 18, then they don't budge. Anything lower than 18, they will offer an ever-increasing discount depending on how low the roll is. You always get a chance to roll again, and the odds of the second roll being successful depends on how good your first roll was. So if you roll
At 15 to 17, they will lower the price by 5 gold, and you have a chance to roll again. And so you roll again a second time to bargain, and if you roll a 13 to 20, they don't budge. But if you roll a 1 to 12, they will budge, and that 12 is determined by Sylvia's charisma. And say you roll very well, so say she rolls 5 or an 8, they will lower the price by 30, and if you want to try again, then you just need to roll a 1 to 17. I hope all that makes sense. We'll see how it works in practice. Okay, first thing we want to know is what can they tell us about the hill, and we offer 5 gold. We think that's a reasonable price for a chit chat, just a bit of info. And they laugh and say, oh no, we want 100. Right, 100 is quite a lot considering we've got a 750. Let's see what Sylvia rolls. Oh, and she rolls very well. So Sylvia says, please can you not just lower the price a bit? We don't have 100. And a roll of 1 to 4 means they lower it by 40, which means they're down to 60. And Rosabella says, oh well, how about 60? And we have a chance to see if we can negotiate further. So an 18 to 20 means they don't budge. A 1 to 17 means roll again. And that was a 16, right? Okay, just in there. We have a chance to roll again. So Sylvia says, 60? Not too sure. And that's a 6, which again is a good roll, which is lower by 30. Now that would bring it down from 60 to 30, but we're told the minimum is 40. So Rosabella says, oh, because you're a pretty face, I'll give it to you for 40. So they tell us about most of the areas in this hill. The Hobgoblin camp we've cleared, an ogre's cave, and a cave of steam weevils, and they sort of draw on a napkin where these things are to help us. There's also a cave of Neanderthals, and they're lovely people, wee bit hairy, and they don't wear too much clothes, but they're friendly, and that's better than most these days. And there's a graveyard, which is Area 18. Okay, well, we can mark those on the map. Now we want to know more about the Hobgoblin raid, and do they know anything? Turns out that they do. They can tell the most likely place an army would amass is a ruined monastery. Are they going to tell us about this ruined monastery? And Sylvia chances her arm and says, okay, well they asked for 100 gold last time, and they settled for 40, so let's try 30. And they laugh and say, 30? For what we're about to tell you, 150. Right, okay, so Sylvia does a little bit of pleading, says, can you lower the price? And they lower it to 145. And let's see if they will go further. 6. Yes, we have a chance to roll again. So 145, can you do better? And they lower it by 25, so that's 120. Oh, you drive a hard bargain? Oh, she does. Oh, she loves a bargain, this one. And we're told that these old women love a bargain. And the only reason they start at these extortionate high sums to begin with is because they actually love this whole process. So we have a chance to roll again. 15, yes. So in my chart, 11 to 9, Sylvia rolled a 10, means 1 to 15, they're open for more bargaining. If you'd rolled a 16 to 20, then they would have stopped. That is, don't budge. So Sylvia tries again, saying 120. She looks around, what can we do? Oh, and that's very good. That's another 40 off, so we're down to 80. And these old women says, oh, my goodness, we've met our match here. Oh, we have. We've met her match here. Oh, she's almost as good as this as we are. What about 80 gold? One last chance, Sylvia. Now she rolled a 4, which means the odds of getting another round in is 1 to 17. And that's a 2. So yes, she can roll again. And a 19. Don't budge. Sylvia says, 80.
any chance you can do any better? And Rosalinda says, no, you did well, but no, 80 is our floor. Well, do we want to pay 80 gold to find out or where this ruined monastery is? It's the best lead we have so far. Well, yeah, we'll pay it. And they tell us of this ruined monastery and that there are dungeons below it. It says here, including the fact that many hobgoblins and goblins use it as a base of operations. Well, this is the best lead we have so far. And we thank them, finish our tea, cake, and we stand up to leave. And they say, oh, one last thing. Could you do us a favour and we'll give you something in return? What is the favour? Rosalinda says, that ogre we told you of. Could you bring us his head? That's all. And in return, we will give you some potions and some scrolls. Rosabella says, and what we'll do is we'll give you the potions and scrolls up front. But if you don't return with the ogre's head, we'll come and get you. Well, we have no problem ridding the world of ogres, even though in the past, every ogre that we have found has actually been really quite decent to us. Maybe we've had to pay them. We're actually spent more time allied with ogres. Nonetheless, we agree, and we're going to pack up. And they give us at the door a potion of invisibility, potion of healing, a scroll with cure light wounds and detect magic on it, and protection from evil, and a magic user scroll with web, detect magic, and magic missile. Malin is going to scribe the magic missile as soon as he can cast read magic on it. And the web he can give to Sylvia for when she is able to cast level 2 spells. And not only that, but when we come back and deliver the head, they will promise to give us a good load of healing, both cure light wound spells and from a staff of healing. Well, we've agreed to take their stuff, so we're going to fulfill our part of the bargain, and we're going to set off and find this ogre cave. Right, we have left the cottage of these two old women, and they're waving us away. Before we go, Sylvia takes out the 3 berries from this bush here and asks, do they have any news on these? And they say, oh yes. They'll heal you a little bit if you're sick, but they only last a day. And sure enough, they seem to be going off already. So Donard has 22 out of 25 HP, and these do 1d4 healing. So, right, so he eats 1, it's up to 23. And yeah, he's back up to 25, and with 1 berry left. It will take us the guts of a day to go there and back. It's not worth it. And on the map, I have marked with a little green dot all the places that these women have told us about. I'm presuming this square A is the monastery, the ruin, but there is nothing anywhere to indicate that A is the monastery. Oh well, no, we're here to bring them the head of the ogre, which is here, and it's down a cliff. So we're going to walk along this path here, and it will take us 1 hour to get through these 6 squares, and that's 2 wandering monster checks. Leave the glade behind, and yep, we get a wandering monster. Right, what is it? Instead of going through the book, I made this little table here. 1d6. It is just after the middle of the day. And it's a 3. Sturges. I hate Sturges. How many Sturges? 4 of them. Right. Let's see who has surprise. We might just leave these Sturges behind if we get surprise. And they surprise us. What is their reaction? Are they hungry? Well, let's just remind ourselves, is a Sturge a vicious creature, or is it neutral? They're neutral. They may not be hungry. And that is a very good reaction roll, possibly friendly. Okay, well I should imagine they're just sitting in the trees, hooting and squawking, being Sturge-like as we walk past. But we're going to get our shields up in case they decide to do a nosedive. Another good reaction roll, and that is friendly. We can pass on by. Half an hour later, we get another wandering monster. What is it this time? Hobgoblins. We're here to kill hobgoblins. Surprise. They surprise us. Reaction 7. Uncertain. Will they see us on the path? Well, they've spoilt their surprise. No, actually, they maybe are not on the path. Maybe they're in the bushes and they see us walking along the path and they wonder what to make of us. 9. Friendly. Okay, right now this is interesting. They've decided not to attack us. Do they actually think we're allies? Do you know, I find this evil people being friendly the most difficult one to work through. Are they going to hail us on this path? Do any of us speak Hobgoblin? Sylvia speaks Hobgoblin. Yes, they step onto the path and hail us as though we will be friends. Right. This is not going to work well for them. We're not friends. So that was essentially their surprise over. They say, "Hail, where are you going?" Sylvia says, "To kill an ogre." Well, that doesn't go down too well, because the ogres and the hobgoblins are allied. All of a sudden they're not that friendly. So they ask, "Why are you here to kill the ogre?" And Sylvia says, "To appease the 2 witches in the cottage." And they immediately recoil in horror and say, "Those witches?" They're clearly very frightened of those 2 old women. And they say, "But you cannot kill the ogre. You must kill the witches." Sylvia says, "No, we're not going to do that." She's a bit upfront and honest, is Sylvia. Not that good at thinking of a lie. Clearly I'm not. What is their reaction to that? Oh, again, it's friendly. They leave. They don't want to be part of this fight, so they go to walk away. Now, are we going to just let them walk away? Well, Donard can't. I mean, he's almost driven to kill evil creatures. And, well, we have a duty to uphold our bargain with the Castellan. Sylvia says, "Not so fast," and the fight is on. Did I roll for how many hobgoblins? Okay, well, there's 6 of them. And they have 5 HP each. Let's roll for initiative. They get initiative. There's not much room on this path, so I need 2 melee on Donard and Carrick and 2 archers. And that's a miss on Donard. That's a miss. 2 on Carrick. It's a miss. And that's a miss. 2 archers. Miss. And miss. Right, our turn. Sylvia. Misses. Liz. Hits. Kills 1. Malon's gonna try a throwing dagger. 14 hits AC 5 and they have AC 6. Oh, he actually hits them. He takes 1 from 5 to 1 HP. Melee. Donard hits and kills 1. Carrick hits. Excellent. Kills another. That leaves the 2 archers left. Round 2. They get initiative. Let's see if their morale holds up. And it doesn't. They run off the path into the bushes, and they know this area better than we do, so they've gone. So we get to the end of the path and we see a cliff. We're told this cliff is 100 feet high. We have a rope. It's actually a magical rope, but we don't know what it does. It is a rope of climbing, but it's only 50 feet long. So we have to look around. We're going to go north or south. It really doesn't matter which. To go through the bushes, down some quite steep slopes to, well, sea level. Do we go north or south? 1 to 3 north, 4 to 6 south. So yes, we go north, and it takes us an entire 45 minutes to get to there. Have we met those errant hobgoblins? Yes, we have met something. I'm going to say it's those 2 hobgoblins that fled. Right. Who gets surprise? No surprise. Who gets initiative? They get initiative. What is their morale? It holds up. Right. They fire one on Donard. Misses. One on Carrick. Misses. Right. Sylvia. Well, there's actually, sorry, there's 3 of them. One of them has 1 HP. She misses. Liz misses. Donard misses. Malin with his little throwing dagger misses. And Carrick hits and kills one. There's 2 left. The injured one didn't get an attack. I'll do it. And it misses. Right. Round 2. They get initiative. Let's see if their morale holds up. And it does. So, 2 archers miss. And miss. Now, by rights, they should have tried to get their swords out, because we're engaging them in melee. But Sylvia hits and cleans one out. The last one has 1 HP left. And Liz kills it. We're getting through these hobgoblins, and we're here at the edge of this extremely steep slope, but we can scramble down it through the trees, and we'll do that next time. Okay, see you then.